Well, I guess I have to reaffirm the argument again for physical metals versus electronic currencies and electronic investments. Not that I think everything on a piece of paper or electronically is going to fall. I don't think so. I think that's ludicrous to think so, because in this day and age, it's through paper representations of real wealth or real capital goods, and electronic representations of wealth and transfers of money, or of representations of capital goods, that we transact business. It's too inconvenient to go walk around with loads of silver and gold and whatever the heck it is. But I just have to reemphasize again the importance of physical assets, because there's been a lot of people I call turncoat traders who are in the physical silver and gold camp, and I'm not going to mention any more names on this type of stuff because people think I'm being mean-spirited or something, but I just have to point it out. If you haven't noticed, that many people have turned 180 degrees away in principle when they got behind Bitcoin. Now, I think the idea of electronic currencies that are owned in your own wallet is probably the wave of the future, but somehow when I saw, well, actually it would have been smart to get in, obviously, if you were the smart ones, to get in on Bitcoin early on and sold them at a high price and traded it for something else, or just got your money out and bought capital assets, or even bought silver or gold or whatever with it. Oh, that would have been awesome. But have you seen what happened now on the Mt. Gov exchange? Now, it's something they call possibly just localized to Mt. Gov, because actually Mt. Gov had they were doing fine profitability wise until they had a $300 million theft, and that's when things really started coming apart actually for them, I think. But again, they might be comparing that to the MF Global deal, where it's not really across the board with electronic currencies. But again, this is the argument for physical metals, isn't it? Isn't it? There's something that can go wrong someplace. So it's not like maybe you have everything in physical metals, but you have it as a hedge against problems that are unforeseen, that you cannot control in other ways. If you do not physically own it, you don't own it, right? That was one of the major themes of the physical metal crowd, and a lot of people jumped on Bitcoin after it started taking a meteoric rise, and they started pumping it then after it rose. Of course, they didn't say a damn word when it was a tenth of a penny or something, or whatever the hell it started out as, when you could have bought $100 worth of Bitcoins and been a multi-millionaire, right? They didn't say nothing then, only after it rose. And I don't know how many people got caught holding the bag on this deal, but basically, if you're going to stick with principles, you're going to stick with principles, and that's all there is to it. Physical metals is one thing, and that's it. Now, on the scene with the bubbles, everybody talks about the bubbles. Yes, I know there's a type of bubble that's going on, and I'm going to tell you this. If they didn't put all these other controls in where they can actually shore up the markets, I would say the markets would crash at least 70% or at least 60% or some really heavy-duty crash. But they have too many controls in place. But the thing is, whenever they exercise these controls, I think just a little common sense, it can create bubbles in other areas. And other areas could be like commodities, which will include the metals, which will include oil, the metals, agricultural products, livestock products, food, that type of stuff. Any of the metals, actually, it can create bubbles in those areas if they have to react very hard to shore up the markets against a severe correction. And I think even though they will act to backstop the markets will probably correct 30%. I mean, they went up 30% in 2013. What the hell's a big deal about them correcting 30%? It wouldn't be too outlandish to say so. But also, I have to point out, a lot of the budgets, they extended the debt ceiling, right? We know that. They've extended the debt ceiling to March 2015. But in a lot of ways, there's still a hell of a lot of cutbacks going on, even though they're adding more and more debt. And this is really more writing on the wall is coming up for the USA, because a lot of people are critical of the United States because we spend as much on the military as the rest of the world put together. But despite what people say, the USA is pretty hands off on a lot of stuff. I know there's involvement in Afghanistan. I know you're not going to tell me. I know. There's different various types of corruption going on. There's drug trading going on in Afghanistan and all this. I know that. But by and large, you know, if a lot of these other places had the USA might, we would have already been involved. It would have attacked other countries flat out and obliterated them, for crying out loud, and took them over. I mean, that's the way some of these other places are. And, you know, it's not crazy to say that because they just don't have the power, you know. So, but I'm going to say this, as the budgets are diminished in the military budget, you're going to start seeing other things fill in the vacuum. And if you think the United States is bad, you're going to find out that there's other things that are worse. And I put out this video about meet the new boss, worse than the old boss. Well, in a lot of ways, that's very true because, you know, our problem in the United States is that, well, we could take some of that stuff that we could criticize from Russia about, and actually they are correct in some ways, because the Americans become decadent and corrupt. In other words, we got the damn best system in the world, but it takes a little effort of just people to weed out the garbage that's going on in the government or whatever it's going on in the business world, and by people actually taking action through all the channels that are at their disposal, the problems will go away overnight. You know, you just can't say, "Oh, these elitists are doing it." You know, hey, it's the 99% more than the 1%. And just to point this out, that you know, there's always been, it's human nature everywhere. Human nature is the same damn thing across the planet. You know, if we wind up getting a system replaced in the United States with something more like the old Soviet Union or something like that, that looks nice on the outside in the beginning, it's going to turn into genocidal, rotten garbage like Americans couldn't even fathom. So you know, it behooves a lot of people to get off their dead ass and quit watching the game or whatever the hell they're doing, and partake in the system versus you know, flipping emails at different people and all this kind of garbage, you know, about the problems in the government. Actually, tell your representative what you're pissed off about, and you know, they get backbone when enough people back them up. They only get backbone when a lot of people are bitching. Otherwise, they don't do a damn thing. You know, they don't work on autopilot. That's the fact. Now, I just want to point out about some of the budget cuts in the military, and I know this is a silver update, but just going to tell you a little bit more because, you know, one thing they're budget cutting in the military in 2015, they're getting rid of, is the A-10 Warthog, which is a close air support type airplane. It's got like a super thick titanium body on it, like it could take all kinds of direct hits from enemy aircraft fire and go in close. It's actually the thing that destroyed almost 1,000 tanks in the you know, the Gulf War. It destroyed like almost 1,000 tanks, and I don't know, 25 or 2,800 vehicles. Besides that, A-10 Warthog was the #1 winner. It's a tank destroyer. It uses a 30mm gun on it. Basically it's a big freaking flying cannon. That's all the hell it is. Well, you know, the military's totally pissed off about them getting rid of this, but this is budget cuts are chopping that out by 2015. So I'm going to tell you this, you know, when we really see the real severe budget problems, probably like a few years from now, our military is going to be diminished. And, you know, the end game is not going to be just a matter of a peaceful reset. We're actually going to go into probably major wars. This is why I don't want to see the United States fall, period. Because the United States is not really screwed up. I'd have to take the actual criticism from the Russian elite when they say the Americans are getting decadent and lazy. They're correct. They're correct. You know, but you know, let's not decide with the freaking Russian system. The Russian system's screwed up. But you know, actually, I'll tell you the truth. You know, some of the best citizens we see in the United States come from Eastern Europe that used to be in communist bloc countries, and when they come here, they got a freaking 100 times more conscientious input about what goes on than the Americans that have been here for generations, because it's all ho-hum. You know, they only get pissed off when the freaking economy goes down. I mean, it's a fact. That's a fact. You know, actually, probably a lot of Russians, well, my Italian family kind of grew up in a Russian neighborhood, so they're kind of familiar with that stuff. But anyway, you know, as things get, you know, and this is like, you know, that's what I'm saying. A lot of these doom and gloomers are pushing this stuff about, you know, strictly against the elite, but you know, if it's not our system, man, it's not our system. The actual only way to remedy the problems is through using our system. Our system's the best damn system in the world, you know. And if you elect representatives, like we want to go back to sound money, we want to get rid of the Federal Reserve, fine. The thing is not just to get behind Ron Paul and makes a lot of nice speeches about this stuff, but get rid of every stupid representative by voting him out that does not, go with Ron Paul's message or the type of thing he's saying. But, it's very bad to get behind one leader. What you want is 435 representatives that are elected by the people, that have the will of the people behind them. And you know what? The Federal Reserve will disappear overnight. And if they need to actually put, fiat money out there and to stimulate the economy, instead of it going into the bailout of the banksters, it's going to go into the hands of the highly productive middle class. It maybe go into capital projects like, new dams, new roadways, new ways to produce energy that's renewable. Not just solar, but, maybe some other things that are out there. And, that benefit the public for good, even though maybe that might cause some inflation. The problem, it would actually benefit the public for many decades in a row. The people are the problem, man. The people are the problem. And so I just got to freaking put that out because, that's always been, I realize what goes on with the 1%, but, they got a 1% in every freaking country in the freaking world. Actually, the USA does have the freaking damn best system. The problem is, the Russians are freaking right about what they say about the Americans, that they're too damn lazy to get off their ass and fix the situation. But I'm telling you, if we get scammed by this alternative media, and they tell us to get rid of our system and reject it and go with something else, because this is going to fix everything real fast, and once we have this new system, it's going to be all fine, that's where you're going to get screwed. It does, no matter what system you got, people got to take part. That's all there is to it. Nothing's 110% autopilot. We got a lot of checks and balances, and, that's one reason a lot of things have not fallen apart all the way. And despite, some of the crap, for instance, if Americans are all against the NSA, it could be stopped. It could be stopped. That's the whole deal. That's the whole deal. And, but most Americans do not do anything about it until they personally have a problem. And this is really where communism took root in Russia. It's like the Reds, when they took over, they went after one of these people, and they went after these other people, and they finally took over the whole deal. The Nazis did the same thing in Germany. They went after this one group, and then they finally took over the whole deal. It was not until, that's what the problem is. When you see something unjust, no matter who it is, no matter who, what group it is or whatever, you need to remedy it. You need to voice your opinion on it and remedy it right away. And because the financial system, when it does collapse, it's not going to be a smooth reset. It's actually going to be a catastrophe. It's going to be a catastrophe that is going to be beyond just like having silver to protect your wealth. There's going to be a lot of social unrest, a lot of crime. And, if the American military can't be paid, and, look what happened with the Russian conventional forces when the Soviet Union collapsed. It's going to collapse. And I'm going to tell you right now, I think Russia and China are waiting for that moment. Nothing has changed. Those guys aren't there to help you. No way. The Russian people are one thing, the Chinese people are another thing, but the leadership is still the hardcore garbage that they've always been. And, the point is, in America, we don't get behind elitists. We got the tools to freaking keep them in check. It's a matter of getting off our dead asses and doing so. That's all there is to it. So anyway, silver, I'm going to tell you right now, I think is going to go up a hell of a lot this year. But, say it goes up to $35, $40, and that's all it goes up to, which is a hell of a gain right there. I don't think it's going to, crash from there. Now, if it gets some ungodly freaking gain, where, we get involved in a war with Iran, which I think is really going to be a major catalyst for bringing up the metals of oil and gold, and it busts solidly through 50, and it's up to 60, or maybe it hits 72 to 75, which is a major fib point, then I would see where it can crash down below 50 and maybe get into the, low 40s again before it takes another charge up. But we're not into the ultimate freaking final bubble stuff yet in the United States. It's got a few more years to go. It's not going to crash this year. I suspect, well, it all depends on if the Middle East events happen. But if the Middle East events happen, silver and gold and oil is going to go right through the freaking roof, man. Oil's going to go to $200 a barrel. At least spike there, maybe not stay there, but it will spike. And the thing is, if that happens, the alternative media is going to be out there telling you the end is then now, and it's not. It's not. When the end comes up, and the real end, and there's a real financial reset, and the United States can't pay its military, this is probably the reason the alternative media sucks up to Russia today, because they're probably going to be freaking working for them, and they probably know it. They probably know it. I don't like Russia today. They're a bunch of garbage, I don't like the corrupt elitists in Russia, and that's all there is to it. I mean, if I'm going to criticize the United States elitists, I'm definitely going to criticize their elitists and the Chinese elitists too. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. So I can tell you one thing, I'm going to be one that's going to be fighting against this bullshit physically. Oh, by the way, I just want to point out, in Connecticut, they sent out letters to all the gun owners who have the so-called, quote, the black-colored rifles. They don't like black-colored rifles. They call them assault weapons. And anybody has a magazine over 10 rounds or whatever, they sent out letters to them that, they have to do this and that and all this kind of crap, or turn them in, or I don't know what the hell it is. But, that's one of the reasons you should never really register any damn thing, or, actually these people should just move out of that state. They should. They should just say to hell with it. Go somewhere else. I would. I wouldn't live in Connecticut if I was faced with that kind of shit. I'd be like, screw you. I wouldn't give a shit. I'd be out of there. I go to Montana. I don't give a shit. Any place but there, man. Any place, but it doesn't have the totalitarian regime laws. But just have to remember that human nature is the same throughout the world. If it goes into a totalitarian type of system due to change, you know what? American people that are in the positions of power, whether they're police or military, they will be as bad as what's in the Soviet Union, that was in the Soviet Union. It has nothing to do with, USA or Russia or China or whatever. It has to do with the system. The system itself keeps in check the worst people, as long as the just people use the system. The problem is the United States, we're not using the system. That's really what the problem is. And again, people who are, were silver pushers, and they wanted to always say physical this. If you don't have it in your hand, it's not, you don't own it. And all of a sudden they went out and now they got behind the electronic currency. I know the electronic currency, you own it or whatever the hell it is, but the problem is it's still going through an exchange. I really, they make me want to puke, to tell you the truth, man. I really, it doesn't jive. It doesn't jive at all. I'm going to tell you right now, you're better off with physical paper money than you are with this electronic stuff, because paper money is still recognized everywhere in the United States, and you physically own it. You know what I mean? Paper money, it's good stuff. Nothing wrong with it. So if you're actually going to be fearful of banks, take your paper money, and if you paper money's not going to go away completely. I think the silver is going to go up greatly compared to the paper money, but paper money is still not going to go away completely. I know about the lessons of what happened to the Russian ruble and what happened in Zimbabwe, and actually there's been more extreme lessons in Hungary after World War II, where the currency really got obliterated. But and I don't think it's not going to happen in the United States to be obliterated unless World War III starts and it goes bad. And there's a lot of indications the way things are going with Obama firing all these nuclear officers and stuff like that, that it's being set up where if the United States ever had a first strike, they're not going to be able to respond, because and I'm going on a tangent here, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't trust the deal at all where this is all heading. It's not going to be a friendly, happy reset. So don't hope for a reset. Don't hope for a crash, because if there is a crash, it's going to be a lot worse than what you think. And you will be better off having food and water and guns than screwing around with silver coins. I'm going to say that right now. But you know what? Stick with the physical, because the physical is the most important. And it's the only way to save yourself. Also, I want to relate something, if you look back in history during the fall of Rome. One of the times the city actually got invaded, they took over the port of Ostia, and it was a major port that was leading into Rome from the river Tiber, whatever the hell it was. and no goods or anything could come into the city, so there was massive starvation. What happened was the most wealthy, who had all the gold, were trading all their gold for food they wouldn't even eat before. They wouldn't even touch this food. They thought it was garbage, but they would give up all their gold for whatever food they had so they wouldn't starve to death. So I'm telling you right now, that's a freaking major lesson, because if there is this reset, these clowns in the alternative media aren't telling you what it's really about. It's going to be bad, man. And you better have food, more than you should have silver coins. Physical food. Not electronic food, not paper food. Physical food. Remember that.